This is a 4 minutes 4 Steampunk special. Ready? This is an episode I've wanted to do for a while about two crackerjack games on the 3DS with a lot in common. Both released in 2015, a steampunk setting, turn-based combat that revolves around aiming shots, an eccentric cast of heroes with kind of corny dialogue, aliens, hub ships, all the narrators talking exactly like this, and most importantly, me enjoying both games immensely.
Okay, cut the effects. Let's start with the older of the two and the one that basically got me into the genre, Codename Steam by Intelligent Systems. Set in a steampunk universe where Abe Lincoln lived and led an elite task force known as STEAM, made up of characters from folklore and classic literature like Henry Fleming, John Henry, and the cast of Wizard of Oz, who are tasked with taking out a Lovecraftian alien threat. You can move around and shoot freely real-time in a 3D space based on your allotment of steam, but take turns with the enemy forces. Flat out, I think this game is phenomenal. The ensemble cast is a lot of fun with some shockingly great voice actors in the mix. In the past, I've been iffy on the cheesy dialogue, which this time around was just charming, and also felt weird about some of the portrayals of different nationalities, though from what I can tell they were handled pretty well. Mostly. The comic book pop art presentation lends itself to really interesting cinematics and vivid character designs, and the music is oddly eclectic but pretty great, moving from metal to electronic to a more period accurate band sound. The most crucial aspects though, and what make this game great, are the gameplay and the progression. In other games of the genre, you constantly have to worry about evenly leveling up your team to not leave anyone behind, upgrading gear and abilities, and calculating every little move lest you lose one soldier and doom the entire mission. Codename Steam has none of that. At its core, the game is about the enemies and the maps and how you build your team each mission to successfully navigate them. The objectives are often simple, like having any one character reach a goal or taking out a specific boss, and the challenging enemies are balanced brilliantly with things like powerful super moves and fairly distributed save points. And that fairness is why the game is so fun and replayable, because it's about how well you want to do and how you choose to rise to the challenge. I can't recommend this game enough, and despite a lackluster reception on launch, I really hope we can see a port or a sequel on Switch, so I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. The other game is Image-Informed SteamWorld Heist. The SteamWorld games are based in a world populated by Steam bots, focusing on a team of space pirates led by Captain Piper Faraday, helping the downtrodden and freeing the galaxy. The gameplay is presented in 2D for this one, selecting a specific space to move to instead of moving freely, and actively choosing cover to hide behind. The core gameplay loop is great, though I will say it's much better if you're using guns with laser sights. Some of the pistols and grenade launchers let you see exactly where you're aiming, and with the pistols can show you your bounce trajectory off of walls and floors, which can be a ton of fun to mess with. It's better than eyeballing shots since characters don't stand perfectly still, meaning that shot you've been lining up can change at the very last second you pull the trigger. The designs of the protagonists pack in a ton of personality and uniqueness. That personality falters a little bit during dialogue, as unlike Codename Steam's on-the-nose comics cheese, this goes for more self-aware, Joss Whedon-y comeback comedy. The writing of the plot is a lot tighter, feeding off the aesthetics of the different factions of enemies with western-style steampunk, militaristic diesel punk, and straight-up silver sci-fi robots with lasers and electricity. There are a couple bumps in the learning curve. Just like many games in this vein, the early middle of the game can be somewhat frustrating before you really beef up your team and gear, and there's also a couple enemies that are always annoying, like melee fighters who explode when they die, and shielded enemies that spawn kamikaze drones every turn. My least favorite aspects are that when characters die, they don't get experience, and losing on higher difficulties means losing currency. It discourages going back to challenging missions to perfect them, and means that your weaker characters are just gonna get left behind because you can pick a couple favorites that can reliably get through missions. I highly recommend this game, and you can get through it pretty quickly while still having a lot of fun, so I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. And done.